So today we're tackling a book that didn't just poke holes in the 9-to-5 grind, it pretty much took a sledgehammer to it. We're talking about Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. It's this wild promise to completely redesign your life for more freedom, more travel, and way more adventure. Starting, well, right now.
Right out of the gate, the book hits you with this idea. It's a total challenge to everything you and I were probably taught about work and success. The message is pretty blunt. If everybody's doing it, it's probably not the best way. The path most people take, it's not just a little inefficient, it's fundamentally broken.
So what is this broken path? Well, Ferriss gives it a name, the Deferred Life Plan. And you know this plan. It's that all-too-familiar cycle of grinding away your best years, saving every penny, and just hoping that one day, way off in the future, you'll finally get to relax and enjoy your life. But what if that whole promise is just a big illusion?
And that brings us to these two totally different ways to live. On one side, you've got the deferrers. These are the folks sacrificing today for a tomorrow that, let's be honest, isn't guaranteed. But on the other side, there's this group Ferriss calls the new rich. And these people, they don't wait. They create a life of freedom and adventure right now by completely changing the rules of the game.
Okay, so who exactly are these new rich? First, get that image of a millionaire with a mansion and a fleet of supercars out of your head. It's not about that. In fact, it has almost nothing to do with the number in your bank account. It's a totally different definition of what it means to be wealthy. So for the new rich, or the NR, it's all about a simple principle. Real wealth isn't cash, it's freedom. The currencies they trade in are time and mobility. So instead of slaving away for millions, they engineer their lives to get the experiences that people think millions will buy them, and they get to have those experiences immediately.
So how do you actually do this? How do you join the new rich? Well, Ferriss gives us a 4-step framework, and he calls it DEAL. It's an acronym for definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. This is basically the escape plan from the 9-to-5. So let's break down exactly what each of those means. All right, first up, definition. This is the foundation. It's where we have to tear down all our old ideas about what success, wealth, and risk really mean. And the very first thing we have to tackle? Our relationship with fear.
You know, most of us are kind of paralyzed by this vague, fuzzy fear of what might happen if we try something new. Ferriss's solution is an exercise he calls fear setting. You stop just worrying and you get super specific. You write down the absolute worst thing that could happen. Then you figure out how you could stop it from happening, and finally, you plan out exactly how you'd get back on your feet if it did. It turns out, when you actually stare your fears in the face, they're not nearly as scary as you thought. The real risk? It's doing nothing at all.
Okay, the next big redefinition is income. We are all programmed to chase that big salary number, what's called absolute income. But check this out. Who's actually richer? The person making $100,000 a year but working a soul-crushing 80 hours a week? Or the person making $50,000 but only putting in 10 hours and having all that freedom? When you look at it that way, the second person is way richer. That is the power of relative income, and that's the only number the new rich actually care about. So once you've redefined what you're actually aiming for, the next step is elimination. This is all about being absolutely ruthless and cutting out the stuff that just doesn't matter. It's about being effective, not just being busy for the sake of it. And the secret weapon for elimination is the 80-20 principle. You've probably heard of it as Pareto's Law. The idea is that for almost anything, 80% of your results come from just 20% of your actions. Your job is to find that critical 20%, those few key tasks or clients or activities that give you the biggest bang for your buck, and just get rid of the rest.
Then you pair that 80-20 rule with another powerful law of the universe, Parkinson's Law. We've all lived this. It's the reason a simple task that should take 2 hours will magically stretch to fill an entire week if you let it. So the strategy becomes crystal clear. Focus only on those high-impact 20% tasks, and then give yourself ridiculously short, tight deadlines to get them done. That combo forces you to be incredibly focused and effective.
Now we get to the last two parts of the deal, automation and liberation. And this is where it all comes together. This is the end game. It's about building a system, an engine that makes money for you so you can finally, truly separate your income from your time. And the machine that does this for you is what Ferriss calls a muse. Think of a muse as a small, low-maintenance business. Maybe it sells a niche product online or a specific service that's built from day one to basically run itself. The goal isn't to build a giant corporation. The goal is just to create enough passive income to fund the life you want without you having to constantly be involved. So how in the world does a business run itself? I think this quote really gets to the heart of it. Instead of managing through control and fear, you build your systems on trust and empowerment. This lets you practice what Ferriss calls management by absence. You create processes and rules that are so good, your team can run the whole show without you. It's all about designing a business where you are not the bottleneck. And all of this leads to the final step, liberation, which is the whole point of this entire journey. With your time freed up and your income automated by your muse, you're not stuck in one place anymore. You can now take what Ferriss calls mini retirements, these 1 to 6 month adventures scattered throughout your entire life, instead of waiting for that one single retirement way at the end. You know, this quote from Thoreau just nails the entire philosophy. Real wealth isn't about how much stuff you can collect or how busy you are. It's about freedom. It's about designing a life where you can afford to just let things be, to step away and to live completely on your own terms. So we'll leave you with the same question Ferriss asks in the book. This isn't about being reckless. It's about giving yourself permission to dream bigger than the limits you've always accepted. So really think about it. If you knew for a fact that you could not fail, what kind of life would you design for yourself? That's a powerful question to start with.